When I say self-care, that word I feel like has been really watered down. And so self-care is understanding what kind of self-care you need and where that can lead you into authentic rest. And so this is where you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of your mind, and you're taking care of your soul.
Hi, I'm Trisha Taylor, and this is the Leader's Journey podcast. If there's anything that we can say about leadership that is just about universally true, I think it is that leaders are tired. I'm tired today. There's a really good chance that you're tired. And my friend Chelsie Sargent and I, a couple months ago, were talking about this. And we were just talking about the complexity of tiredness among leaders and how it's not an easy thing to understand necessarily. It's not always an easy thing to fix. And our conversation was just so engaging that I said to her, let's finish this on the podcast. And thankfully she agreed to that. And I'm really excited that you get to hear some of her expertise around the question, what kind of tired are you? Chelsie is my friend. She's the therapist here in Houston that I most often refer to. Her husband pastors the church just catty-cornered from the church that my husband pastors. And she works with leaders in just a lot of different capacities, from therapy to coaching to just offering support and training and writing and all of those things. And so I'm really just very jazzed that you get to meet Chelsie. And I want to invite you into this conversation to not think about fatigue as something that is inevitable or to think about it in a simplistic way, but maybe to expand the answers that you might have to the question, what kind of tired are you?
Hey, Chelsie, I'm so glad you're here. So here's where I want to start. Everyone is so tired. I mean, everyone is tired. The moms and dads are tired. The retired people are tired. And, maybe especially leaders are tired these days. What are you seeing about that? I think this is probably one of the most common things that it's talked about in my office of being tired and the different kinds of tired and what wears people out and how many different directions they feel pulled in at all times for a lot of the things that you just listed off right there. Being pulled in all different directions. That's definitely one. I was sitting with a client not long ago where he was planning a retreat. He was so tired and his congregation had given him a little bit of time off and he was planning a retreat. And I just found myself asking him exactly that question. So what kind of tired are you? And I don't know that I had ever asked it exactly that way. And it just opened up this incredibly productive conversation. So yeah, maybe between the two of us, but I especially want to hear what you have to say. What kinds of tired are there? I think that's a great question because I think that is a mindfulness practice to be able to dive in to that piece and really evaluate where fatigue is coming from. And so I do a lot of work with leaders and in the ministry context of working on self-care. So that is one of the main things that I spend time thinking about and helping people process through. And one of the things that I do is I like to give people some different boxes, if you will, to think about tired. I'm going to kind of look at some notes as we're talking through this part because I want to get all the language right. I think one of the things that I help people with and give language with first is really evaluating, are you burned out or are you suffering from compassion fatigue? Okay. So you're saying those might be two different things? Yeah. That maybe overlap but are not the same. Yeah. So one of the things I do, one of the slides, you can't really see it right here. One of the slides I use when I speak is that is all on a Venn diagram. And because there are many things that are the same about burnout and compassion fatigue, and if those things go on long enough, one of the words or phrases that I use is burn up. And burn up and learning if
Mm.
that's the kind of tired you are, that one is really hard to recover from. Where I think burnout and compassion fatigue, if you use mindfulness and discernment, I think you can recover from those quicker than one can recover from burn up.
How would I know if I was getting this close to burnout?
So I think that is really evaluating, are you burned out or are you suffering from compassion fatigue? And so
Okay.
burnout, I really think you start losing sense of identity and who you are in your family context, who you are personally, who you are in the spiritual context, who you are in the work context. And
So if I start to say things like, I don't even know who I am anymore, or if I start to say things like, I don't feel like myself,
yeah,
maybe I'm looking at that.
yeah. And so that is where you probably push past a lot of the yellow flags, like you were mentioning right there, of self-care and taking some
I
breaks.
have no idea what
Yeah.
you're talking about.
Same. And really kind of starting to evaluate that you need to back into some very intentional self-care. I think compassion fatigue and a lot of helping professionals or people who are around secondary trauma or people who are sitting with helping others navigate through high emotions. I think that is where compassion fatigue can come from. So, I mean, this can come from corporate or ministry or family context. Me as a therapist, I know this is something that I need to be highly aware of for myself since trauma is one of my main specialties. And so that is where you really move into apathy and where you had compassion and maybe more kindness and gentleness and higher capacity to sit in emotional spaces with people, that becomes very small. And so
When I see that in myself is when my phone rings and I look at it and it's someone I know is going to require a conversation and I just don't want to answer.
yep. So you don't have margin space.
Yeah, I have this feeling like I just can't. I mean, I want to. I care still, but I just can't.
Yep. And that is where a lot of these, again, it sounds like you're kind of getting in the weeds with it, but I think it's worth it to know where the tired or where the fatigue is coming from, because I think you can treat yourself or take care of yourself in different ways. And if those are ignored, going to what you were saying earlier, that's where burn up really starts to seep in. And that goes beyond kind of loss of identity, and that goes beyond capacity to care. And that's when people are looking at me and being like, why in the world did I even choose this career in the first place?
Yeah, and we're losing ministers. We're losing, healthcare workers.
Yes.
I mean, and in so many of those sectors, people are having exactly that conversation. I want to talk about what self-care looks like in a minute, like beyond the bubble bath and the massage, right? But,
Yep.
and then, what that really looks like. But I want to also talk about, okay, so burnout and compassion fatigue. I mean, that points me in just several different directions. But one of the kinds of fatigue that I think I run into personally is the fatigue I have literally brought on myself. I mean, like I have said yes to too many things. Some of it might be a little performative.
Yep.
Some of it's FOMO. I have terrible FOMO. I want to do everything. I mean, I'm not going to tell you the story that I'm literally in a hotel room right now in Minnesota because I had FOMO. Okay. But sometimes it's FOMO. Sometimes I'm kind of just having no boundaries.
Yep.
But I've said yes to everything. And now I have worn myself out and I'm exhausted. Like what is that kind of tired? I mean,
I think you use some of the really good language right there. I think that kind of tired pulls you away from understanding your boundaries. I think that kind of tired pulls you away from the ability to discern, like, yeah, I may experience FOMO or I may miss out on this, and that's okay. And a window of tolerance shrinks, right? And so what you're trying to do with self-care and that discernment and understanding tiredness is expand window of tolerance of like, I can deal with some of this stress or some of this go, or some of this FOMO right now. And then other times I can't.
I don't have capacity, or family or work ministries requiring more out of me.
And it takes emotional maturity to be willing to do what you just said,
Yeah.
to be, I mean, a 5-year-old doesn't know that he can't keep going.
No.
But in fact, a 5-year-old is smart enough to just kind of like pass out on the living room floor when he's,
Yeah.
when he's had enough.
But not before the 5-year-old had a tantrum, right? Because
Well, that's true.
right?
Yeah.
They didn't know how to kind of pace themselves. And then they have this really burn up moment.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Because I do that.
Yeah.
And I'm delusional. I have this idea that I can just keep digging deeper and get more energy and keep going.
Yeah.
Either because I'm trying to please other people or because I just don't want to miss out or whatever.
Yeah.
Tell me why that's a delusion.
Because our bodies and brains and spirits and souls cannot do that. We require rest. We require self-care. We require boundaries on ourselves. And no one's going to put that on us, specifically in our kind of corporate context or ministry context, is specifically those who have high capacity, is people are just going to want things from you.
Okay, so people are just going to want things from you. And I'm a good person, so obviously I need to give them everything they want, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Even if it's exhausting me.
Yes. Yeah. And the only person who's going to pay the price for that is yourself. And one of my favorite imagery stories that I tell when I talk about this is, I was a brand new mom. My daughter, literally the week she turned 6 weeks old, we were on a plane to go visit my family. And I'm sitting there on the plane, and I have this 6-week-old baby who I'm just smitten with lying on my chest. And the flight attendant walks up to me as we're doing all the safety stuff, and she looks at me and she says, "Hey, if we get into trouble and the air masks fall down, you put yours on first." And as a new mom, I was just like, no, why would I do that? I would 100% take care of this 6 weeks old. And it dawned on me, if I don't have oxygen flowing to myself, I will be of no help to anyone else around me. And I just had this moment of like, yeah, I have to go first. And one, it will really model to others of how to do that. And two, I have a cup that's overflowing that then will give to others.
That overflowing cup. I mean, we all know when we have an overflowing cup, or even just an adequately full cup. And when we don't. And yet it's so hard to give ourselves the permission to say, I'm going to take a day off, or even I'm going to take a day for personal retreat.
Yes.
Or I'm even going to stop for these 5 minutes and just listen to a song I like and remind myself to breathe.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard for us to let ourselves do that?
Because I think those have to be intentional and planned. And if they're not intentional and planned and thought about at the beginning of your week or day or month, they will not happen.
Yeah, you said a while ago, I'm the only one that can do that for myself.
Yeah.
But I get resentful of everybody else when I'm tired.
Yeah.
Because they're making me do this or that.
Yes. Yep.
And you're saying that's not actually what's happening there.
No. And it's more of, again, I think resentment is that a massive red flag waving of like, hey, you have got to stop and take care of yourself. This is not a job anyone else can do for you.
Another kind of tired I think I see in leaders, and I know you'll relate to this, is that tired that comes from always being on.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a leader, your facial expressions always matter.
Yes.
So you're careful about that. And everything you say matters. And you're trying to keep your energy up for everybody else. And you're constantly on.
Yep.
And eventually that's just exhausting. And it feels necessary. I mean, what do you think about that?
Your last word right there, it feels necessary. And I think those in leadership position, that is a piece of what you're signing up for, is that you are leading others. You are going to be on. This requires a different level of energy, which is all the more reason to schedule in self-care and to understand when you are getting fatigued. And again, that is either working with someone or doing your own personal evaluation of how much capacity do you have? How are you taking care of yourself in that capacity? And going back to our earlier conversation, where are you saying no so you can say yes to other things?
Yeah. Because sometimes I want to do the thing. I just don't want to be on when I do it. So, like, for example, I love to go to churches, places where I don't know anybody, right? I don't have to worry about what my face is conveying, you know? I mean, I don't have to think about my face at all. I can just go sit in the congregation and, that kind of thing, that kind of anonymity is okay sometimes. It's okay to turn it off.
Yeah.
I think you're saying, but I would have to plan for that.
Yeah. And you were really pointing out earlier is leaders, people with high capacity, people who are working in these areas, they kind of believe that thing of like, well, this depends on me, or I have to be like this all the time.
This depends on me. Yeah. I mean, that's it, right?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. So tell me why either it doesn't depend on me or does it have to depend on me? I mean, talk me down from that.
So I think you gave a good example is that you go to places sometimes where you just get to be you. You just get to kind of go into the congregation or go into this space and you aren't on. And you don't have to perform, or you aren't always in the leadership position. And I think that's something leaders have to really evaluate. They actually like being in that position a lot of times, right? And so it is that pursuit of, but where am I not? And where can I turn it off? Or I can just be myself and take off the masks or relax.
And maybe finding ways to do that in my leadership context sometimes, right? That I do want to be on, but I don't really want to have a mask. But sometimes I'm wondering, okay, this is just coming to me right now, that sometimes maybe the mask is what I use to help me manage fatigue. Because, it's
So where
easier
are
to
you?
be that persona than to be my real self.
And so where are you taking that off? And where are you just letting yourself be yourself to yourself or to the others around you that pour life into you?
At the Leader's Journey, we talk a lot about self, not being selfish, but being like, I think it was Edwin Friedman that would say being selfie, being able to be that self-awareness and and mindfulness that you were talking about earlier. What about when I'm tired because I'm stuck to everybody else's emotional field, right? Their drama, their opinions, their approval of me. And that's what's making me so tired.
And that goes back to an earlier piece of the discussion is you are trying to get your needs met from other people versus yourself.
No, Chelsie, I'm not. I'm just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
They need me.
Yeah. And we can talk ourselves in those circles all day long. And this is why this is considered a discipline. And this is why this is considered something that is not easy. And it requires preparation, sacrifice, and then actually doing the self-care.
Okay, so then let's do that, because I think a lot of us think rest should be easy.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad you said it's not easy. Let's just see if we can put together, like, what could rest look like for us, for leaders who are listening to this. And they've kind of determined, okay, I think I know what kind of tired I am. And so now what?
So this is where I tell you to figure out the difference between treat yourself and self-care. And so that's a Parks and Rec quote right there. That two of the characters in that TV show have a treat yourself day. And they lavish, right? Go all out. They treat themselves. They do all the massages and pedicures and shopping and fancy lunches and taking breaks and things that are fun and maybe kind of bring some joy and distraction, but they don't feed the soul. And so when I say self-care, that word I feel like has been really watered down. And so self-care is understanding what kind of self-care you need and where that can lead you into authentic rest. And so this is where you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of your mind, and you're taking care of your soul. So those are three things that I help leaders and people break down of how to take care of yourself in those three arenas.
So what would that look like?
Yeah. So the physical self-care, I mean, this is daily movement of your body. This is not skipping your medical checkups. This is balanced eating. This is routine and healthy sleep habits. So this is really getting in and doing the nuts and bolts of how we care for our body. And we cut corners on that a lot because those are quote unquote easy places to cut corners of like, I'm just going to stay up this extra hour and work while everyone else is sleeping. Right.
Or what I often see is everyone else is sleeping. I finally have time for myself. I don't want to go to bed.
Yeah.
I don't want to sleep.
That's a good one.
Which tells me, what if I could find that hour somewhere else?
Yeah.
Besides at 10:30 at night.
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. The physical part of it, by the time we've gotten really, like you said, burnout, we have compassion fatigue, we're burned up. Sometimes the thought, wait, you want me to go for a walk and not just sit here and scroll my phone? That's hard.
Yes. And it sounds counterproductive, but I think when you move and you get outside and you let the sun hit your face a little bit, it actually gives you energy. And it helps your body and brain connect in a different way that's not in front of a screen or sitting down or even interacting with others.
Yeah. So it's not a talk and walk. It's and it's, if at all possible, it sounds like it's outside.
Yes.
I know when I'm a little Christy, Craig will say, I think you need to go sit by water.
That's good.
That's the only thing for a certain kind of fatigue I have. That's the only thing that's going to work. Is to just go sit by some kind of water.
And knowing that about yourself and knowing that opens a path for your body to calm down. And then maybe for you to get more curious about, okay, what's the next step? How can I rest more?
Yeah. And that rest can be sleep. And it can also be, I think we're saying that the thing so now I guess maybe we're talking about our souls, but the thing my soul is longing for. Yeah. How do we take care of our souls?
So taking care of our souls, you mentioned one right here, because I think that this is something that is very soul connecting for people, is nature. Now, I live in Houston, and so it is really hard to get deep. I live in the city, like middle of Houston.
Yeah.
Really hard to find nature here. I feel very lucky talking about body of waters. I can get to Galveston pretty quickly. But one of the things that we do in our family is we really prioritize, when we can, vacations that are going to center around us being in mountains, being around bodies of water, being outside of the city context. And so that helps us connect with our souls and our bodies in a different way, to be around that majestic beauty and letting our eyes see something different other than the hustle and bustle of a city life. So I think nature is one of them. I think another way that we get into the spiritual practice of understanding our souls is meditation and prayer. And carving out purposeful time for that, and that not being something that we just tag on at the end of our day or tag on at the end of some task. So again, the theme that's being thread through a lot of this is planned, and this is something that I'm going to seek out. And you used this word earlier, is taking intentional Sabbaths. And I think the
on
word
purpose.
Sabbath, yeah. And I think that's overwhelming to some people because sometimes when I say Sabbath, people are like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do that for a whole 24 hours? I'm like, okay, well then let's start smaller.
Right.
And can it be an hour Sabbath? Can it be half a day Sabbath? Maybe it can be a day Sabbath. And this is also going to be, you have to really tailor to what season of life people are in, right? This is not a one size fits all.
I remember when Andrew was 4 months old, Craig came home and said, it was a Sunday. We got home from church. Those were the days when you had to go back to church at 5 o'clock, you know?
Yep, I remember.
And Craig said, I don't know how long you can be away from the baby, but I want you to leave the house. Feed the baby, leave the house, don't come back until you absolutely have to. And I drove out to Salado. I sat by a river, and then I got back in my car and drove home. And that 4 hours, like I still remember, that was 36 years ago. And I still remember the feeling of all I have to do is sit here for 4 hours.
Yep.
That was the best Sabbath I think I ever had.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And that's attainable in a lot of ways. That is not something that was extremely extensive. And it was a handful of hours. And even all these years later, you spiritually and physically can remember what that felt like.
Yes. Yes. I knew a family once, they had a bunch of kids, and they had a standing reservation at a really kind of budget level hotel. And the mom and the dad would take turns every week getting one night away.
That's good.
From, I mean, that was genius for that family. Not every family, but it goes, to me, it goes to the creativity.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah. Yeah. And it worked for them for a season.
Yes.
You know, they didn't need it for long, but when there were 4 little ones waking up every day, every night, just everybody needed to get a good night's sleep at least once every 2 weeks.
And I want to sit on that creativity right there is that those parents knew it was coming. So they knew that rest and separation was going to come. So it was planned. So that anticipation.
Yeah.
And and you're even talking about this, they felt supported by someone else, right? It wasn't something that you're doing alone.
Yeah. That's really, I mean, I'm thinking, I want our listeners to be thinking about how do I need to rest, but maybe also about other people.
Yes.
How do I need to give leaders rest or give the people in my life the opportunity to rest? If that's sustainable for me, you know, but that would be another question. One of the things I notice is that often churches nowadays, and this didn't used to be like this, but nowadays churches will see the need for their pastor to rest, but the rest of the staff just picks up the slack.
100%. Yeah. And that goes back to what we were talking about, your oxygen mask on first and giving out of a cup that's overflowing. I mean, that's one of I think my biggest curiosities when I work with churches or church leaders is you fill up your cup and then what is the fruit that comes from that?
Yeah. Yeah. There is a kind of rest for me that might not look like rest. See what you think about this. There's kind of when I'm not doing the grunt work of work, but like I'm working on a particular project and I've cleared out space for it and I'm in flow, right? I'm in the zone and I'm creative and time kind of stands still. I mean, can that be rest?
I wonder if that's more something that's life-giving within the context that you, like maybe you already are reaping the benefits of rest.
So I'm rested.
And you get in flow.
There you go. So maybe that's when I'm rested, that's what kind of replenishes me.
Yeah. Because this is a slippery slope. You want to be real careful about the doing aspect. because this is where people are like, well, I'm just going to continue to do all these things and then hoping they get in flow or they experience these pockets.
Okay.
And I'm like,
That's the delusion.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's take a step back and look at this more big picture.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me, especially when I'm trying to, like, I can't stop and rest because flow might happen.
Yes.
Or because I need to pursue that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. So for you, you mentioned nature, you mentioned vacation. Anything else that you do as a practice for like an anti-fatigue practice?
I guard one day a week where I don't come into the office. That's a privilege, right? And so I get that, but that is a day that I play. And my husband's also a minister, and so it is his day off, and we play together. So our daughter is in school, and we like to go to estate sales. We like to go try fun lunch places. We work out together, and it fills up our cup, and it's something that we really, and it's not 100% of the time because both of us are in jobs that require us to be on a little bit more than I can't just shut everything off at 5, right? But we really try hard to guard that time and play. And I think for us, I think just getting into that mode of enjoyment and seeking out joy fills us up.
I love that you put the word play out there, that play is a form of rest.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So everyone who's listening to this and has made it this far is thinking, I just I can't do that. And I wonder if you would just give all of us a permission slip. Would you? Would you offer that to us?
I give you a permission slip to start super small. I think the things that we talk about feel really overwhelming because, again, it requires more of our time. And when we're talking about what kind of tired we are, that's the biggest thing that people say to me is, I don't have time. And so I think the permission slip you can stick in your pockets and pull out every now and then is, what is just one really small thing that I can practice? And so I tell people to practice one small thing a day, maybe a tiny thing that's a bit bigger once a week, and then something that is bigger once a month. And that can help the bite size of self-care and rest and addressing some of that fatigue.
I love that. I'm receiving that permission slip. I want to offer it to everyone who's listening. I want to say, so just go rest something somehow. Like, don't overthink it. Don't make it hard. There is parts that have to be hard for sustainably. That I mean, just like right this minute or before the day is over, to claim some kind of rest. Like, we're giving you permission to do that, to ask yourself, what kind of tired am I? And then what do I really need? And then don't argue yourself out of it. Right? But just go do it.
Yep. And I encourage people, make a note on your phone. That's a play, like a rest list, right? And so when you're needing that moment or you're trying to think of it, it's not just something that you're trying to pull out of nothing in your brain. That you've listened to some ideas on this podcast today, or you're going to pursue reading about this elsewhere, and make a list for yourself and then play with that and then continue to tweak it. And I always tell people, feel the freedom to let things go. Things may serve me in one part of my life that aren't going to serve me in another part of my life or career. And I need to ever be evolving in my self-care.
Oh, that's so good. Because if I just keep adding and never subtract, the load's going to get really heavy.
And then it feels restrictive.
And then I'm resentful.
Yeah.
And then I'm burned out.
Yes.
Okay. So everybody, don't overthink this. Think, but don't overthink. Don't argue yourself out of it. Try something and see what happens. And we just want to say to you, I say every time we end this podcast, I say, take good care. Yes. But really, this time, take good care. And we'll see you next time.